Now to the breaking and really still unfolding news about the federal indictment of former President Donald Trump. This indictment involved January 6th and the efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The charges include conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and lastly, conspiracy of rights. Eyewitness News reporter Jim Dolan in the newsroom with more. Jim?
Joe, a sweeping, detailed, a damning indictment of former President Donald Trump today, handed up by a grand jury and announced just moments ago. Conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy to obstruct. Just 4 counts in all, but by far the most serious charges Trump has faced so far, all related to his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, which Trump lost to Joe Biden. Trump is charged in this latest indictment with conspiracy to defraud the United States. It took 40 pages of the indictment to go through all the evidence from each state they have on that count alone. The second count is conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, that being the election. Count 3 is obstruction of an official proceeding. And count 4, conspiracy against rights. Those rights are American citizens' voting rights, the most basic right afforded by the U.S. Constitution. The indictment alleges that Trump lost the election, that he knew he lost the election, and that he still went to extraordinary lengths to maintain power and to convince the American people there had been fraud, which did not exist. Here's Special Counsel Jack Smith just moments ago.
The attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
Released a statement today asking, why didn't they do this 2.5 years ago? Why did they wait so long? He said because they wanted to put it right in the middle of the campaign. Of course, Jack Smith wasn't appointed special counsel by Attorney General Merrick Garland until November of 2022. His investigation began after that, so filing charges 2.5 years ago would not have been possible. Not indicted today, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was one of Trump's lawyers in the days and weeks after the election. Giuliani appeared at his office just moments ago, obviously concerned when the next shoe might drop.
You know, it's really ridiculous. You don't even know what they're going to indict you for. Jack Smith just makes it up.
Trump's judicial dance card is filling up quickly. He now faces criminal charges in Manhattan for paying hush money to a porn star, and in federal court for obstruction of justice and possession of highly classified documents he took from the White House and kept at his home in Florida, and now for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He may yet face criminal charges in Fulton County, Georgia, for conspiracy to change the election results there. All of that legal trouble, all of those charges have failed to make a dent in his popularity among Republicans. Polls show he continues to lead the race of Republican candidates for president by a lot. It's a race he will likely now run as he confronts his many legal challenges. Trump will be in court in Washington on Thursday.